when it comes to international shipping, it's easy to get fixated on the cost per pound. But you argue that chasing the cheapest rate is kind of a dead end. So, what do you see brands doing wrong when they build their shipping strategy, and how should they be thinking about kind of the true cost of international shipping?
Yeah, this is something that those that know me know I like to rant about a lot, and it's because logistics operators they like to make things very complicated, and for many years the approach has been this is too complicated, let us take care of everything. And so it's created these, and if you look at carrier rate cards these days, it's complicated to understand. I struggle understanding rate cards often, but what it means is that many merchants have this very two-dimensional approach when it comes to understanding shipping rates, where they look at a half kilo or a £1 price to send a shipment from the UK to the United States, or from the US to the UK, depending wherever it's going. Um, when in reality, that isn't a very good measure of their overall cost, because you have different carriers who might be measuring on volumetric or actual weight or dead weight. You have additional surcharges like fuel surcharges, residential surcharges, emergency situation surcharges. There are all these different costs involved in shipping. And so I always say to brands to try and focus on the cost rather than just having that two-dimensional approach to looking at a single rate card. And ultimately, I would always advise brands to consider the the right carrier for the products that they're selling. So I mentioned earlier, selling toothpaste. Well, if you're selling a tube of toothpaste internationally, using a carrier like DHL Express for overnight delivery isn't going to be the best solution. Equally, if you're selling a wedding dress, I wouldn't necessarily recommend putting it on the postal network, where it might take 12 to 14 days to get there, and there's a higher chance of goods getting lost. So, if you work on very rough averages and consider your carrier profile, if you have a high average order value, go for an express operator. There are more tracking incidents. There are more, having that closed network where the person collecting your shipment from your warehouse is going to be wearing the same uniform as the person who delivers it anywhere in the world, and it's traveling on carrier aircraft, all owned in the same network, is a great way of doing it because they're built for that kind of product. But also take into consideration, if you're working with an express operator, you really want to expect 92% of your shipments are going to be delivered first time on time with no issues whatsoever. The other rate might be affected by weather, or they might be affected because you didn't put the right customs description or information on, which means it's experienced a document. I use a wonderful phrase called document. Oh, I can't even remember it. A document delay as opposed to customs delay, because there's no such thing as a customs delay. There's only ever bad paperwork. But if you're using a postal operator versus an express operator, then you're not going to get 92% on-time delivery. It might be closer to 7%, sorry, 70% or 80%. And you've got to consider that, you're going to see some shipments are going to be lost in that postal network versus an express operator where it very rarely happens. So it really is about finding the right carrier for the product that you're selling. And this neatly sets up why guaranteed prepaid duties and taxes really matter, because they remove uncertainty, they protect margin, and they stop that death by a thousand cuts problems that brands face when they're choosing very cheap rates.
Yeah, I mean, customer expectations and making sure you have reliability definitely seem paramount, particularly in shipping, but in particular when you're thinking about shipping cross border, with all these other considerations you have to take into account.